This is a new Haven Pedometer Model 230, probably from the 1960s. It has a clip to dangle it from your pants or whatever, and a little screw that you use to set the pointer to 0. You clip it on and then walk around for a while, and the dial tells you how far you walked in miles. I have the original box and original instructions. Click the links down there for a good quality scan. It opens up real easy. It says New Haven, which is in Connecticut, but it was made in Newark, New Jersey. This is a pedometer. You carry it with you as you walk, and it tells you how far you went by counting your steps. On mine, the plastic cover falls off real easy, but it's probably better for the video. The thing is very easy to open, maybe a little too easy. You just stick your fingernail in there and pop off the back plate. The main business is this sort of hammerhead weight on the left side. It's pretty finely balanced, so it'll easily pivot up and down, and it's connected with a tiny ratchet to this little gear over here. And that gear turns the big dial on the front, and that's about it. Digital versions of these things are pretty popular these days, but they've actually been around for a long time. Leonardo da Vinci drew up designs for one, but he probably never actually made it. But they were in use by the 1600s in Europe for measuring fields, various military applications, or just people walking on long roads, kind of a "are we there yet" kind of thing. Apparently, Thomas Jefferson took an interest when he saw them in use in Europe in the 1700s. Jefferson got one. It was a clunky design, though. There was one piece you put in your vest pocket, which was connected by a long string to another piece you put on your knee, and then the mechanism registers every time your leg pulls the string. That sounds pretty terrible. This more modern design looks like a pocket watch, and there's a good reason for that. In 1777, the Swiss watchmaker Abraham Louis Perlet invented the self-winding watch, and the self-winding mechanism that he invented was basically this thing. It had a weight that would slide back and forth just from random movements, and every time it did, it would wind up the watch a little bit. Soon enough, Perlet realized that his winding mechanism could make a pedometer, and his original design is more or less the same as this one 200 years later. Really, it's just a self-winding watch, but without the watch. This particular one is the New Haven Pedometer Model 230, and it was apparently pretty popular. They're easy to get now for cheap on eBay, and this specific model seems to be the most common one you see. The Beeve even had one. I guess this video could have been one of these, but I don't know, nobody really watches those. Don't you want me to tell you all about Season 3, Episode 6, Beaver Takes a Walk?
How far have you walked now, Beaver? 2 miles.
Whatever. This guy knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, in the early 20th century, the New Haven Clock Company was one of the top clock makers in the world. And yes, they also made pedometers. Here's a photo from the New Haven Museum of the New Haven Clock Company Pedometer Model 230, just like mine. New Haven, Connecticut, and the nearby cities formed a major manufacturing center around the beginning of the 20th century, but it didn't last. There's still great stuff in New Haven today, but it's got the same problems you see in legacy manufacturing cities all over the United States. The New Haven Clock Company went out of business in 1960. I took a trip down to Hamilton Street, and you can still see one of their old factory buildings. The city pledged to convert this into apartments in 2023, but I guess they were on their lunch break when I went. But actually, none of this matters, because this thing wasn't made in New Haven at all. This is weird. It was made by Pedometer Corp in New Jersey. It says New Haven right there, and it says it on the box too. But if you look carefully, they never actually say New Haven Clock Company. They're trying to piggyback on the old clock company's brand without technically claiming that they made it. This one was made by the New Haven Clock Company. This one is the New Haven by Pedometer Corp. It's like the New Haven style. It's not the same. I actually don't know exactly what happened here. I think Pedometer Corp somehow bought the rights or licensed the design after the clock company went out of business. Apparently they didn't have the rights to say New Haven Clock Company, but hey, anybody could write New Haven on it if they want. Anyway, it's a pretty nice design. You dangle it from your pants like this. It looks like it's upside down, but that's because you need to be able to read it while you're wearing it. Perfect. On the inside, you can see clearly what type of motion this thing is meant to register. It hangs like this, and that weight needs to go up and down. So if you swing it like this or like this, it doesn't really do anything. You gotta do like this. I find it pretty satisfying to be able to look at a mechanism like this and actually understand what everything does. This thing goes back and forth and turns this gear. This wire here makes the gear like a ratchet so it doesn't spin backwards. This wire is a little spring that pulls the weight back up to its starting position. This peg up here stops it from moving up too far. And what about this stuff down here? All of that is for the user adjustable stride regulator. Yeah, you're actually meant to open this up and mess around with it from time to time to make sure it's working properly. The weight really just counts the ups and downs as you walk, but the dial doesn't read steps. It claims to show you a real distance in miles. Of course, the pedometer doesn't really know how big your steps are, so any actual distance is going to be a guess. And to compensate for this, they made it adjustable. The instructions say walk a measured mile and see how it does. Then if the dial reads less than a mile, you should move the adjuster here towards fast. And if your test reads more than a mile, you should move it towards slow. The effect is to turn this weird droplet-shaped thing here. And this thing stops the downward motion of the weight. When the thing's turned all the way this way, the weight goes all the way down before coming back up. But when it's over here, the weight moves a lot less in each cycle. So with each step, it's going to register less distance. It's simple and I like it. All right, I got to try this thing out. I walked for a mile and then this is what I got. Way off. It's like 1/8 of a mile. So I cranked the calibration way up and I walked it again, and this time it read about 1/4 of a mile. Not great. I guess I could still use it if I just multiply by 4 every time, but it's a little disappointing. Maybe the springs in there aren't balancing the weight properly anymore, or maybe I'm not wearing it right. I tried it a couple different ways, but I never got anything close to the true distance. I am very tall, and it was cold out, so I was probably walking kind of fast. I don't know. I assume it worked great when it was new. I bought this thing on eBay from a lady named Jessie who says it belonged to her father. I mentioned that I was planning on making a video about this thing. It made her feel something to know that her father's old thing might be interesting to strangers on the internet. I guess we'll see.